Hi, Lockman.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is sort of a special gathering of the Arts and Culture Caucus. We will have two in-person meetings on site at Legislative Hall this spring. And this is our opportunity to provide a presentation of some core information that we think will be important for legislators to know. And of course, we want to make sure that everyone can listen in. Hopefully, the information about the CREATE plan is not news to a lot of you who are here from the arts community, but we wanted to make sure to get something on the record for particularly legislators who are not so familiar so that they have that grounding before joining our upcoming meetings this spring. So I would ask, I guess we have a couple folks online to, well, I see two reps and a rep's assistant. So for those who don't know, the Arts and Culture Caucus was formed during the pandemic, really, with Representative Brian Shupe and I as the co-chairs, so making it a bicameral, bipartisan effort, and also with a geographic reach representing both, upper and lower counties. But Representative Shoup unfortunately is not able to be here. Someone in the family isn't feeling great, and he's doing the most important thing first. But I'll ask just for quick introductions from Rep. Spiegelman and Rep. Gorman if they are able. Go ahead, just
Morning,
tell us.
Representative Jeff Spiegelman, 11th District, Northwestern Kent County, Southwestern Newcastle County. Currently stuffing my face with lunch something or other, so I will not be on camera.
Perfect. That
Please
was
not
the
be grossed out
intention
the
of this.
panel.
Chat and chew, sometimes at the same time. Thank you, Representative Spiegelman. Rep. Gorman.
My name is Mara Gorman. I represent Western and Northern Newark. And I think I may have the distinction of being the only legislator who's actually twice gotten DDOA, art support for my writing. So I am a writer. I consider myself a writer, even as I am a legislator also. So this is very near and dear to my heart, and I'm super excited about this caucus.
I am glad that you are here and look forward to working with you. And we also have staff members, Dakia, my LA, Emily Cummings, Rep. Shoup's LA. You guys can wave and say hello. And so I think, obviously, as I said, the objective of our call is to have this briefing, particularly to have Neil Kirschling from the Arts Alliance talk us through what the CREATE plan involves. He'll get into how it's the first plan of its type in the country. And our hope is that we're able to use this very unique vehicle that we have to actually take action in the legislature. And that's the reason the Arts and Culture Caucus exists, right? Is to make sure that we are doing our part in Dover to create the best possible context for arts and culture to flourish here. And so with that, I'm just going to hand it over to Neil to let him do his thing.
All right, wonderful. Happy to do so. Thank you for the introduction, Senator Lockman, and for helping organize us. We had about another 10 of your colleagues RSVP yes, and I know schedules always change by the end of the week, so we'll make sure they get all this information. But I think that's a positive sign that folks are still following along, even if they're not able to be
The
on this
interest is
specific
there.
call. Yeah. So today's briefing meant to just give you a high-level overview of the CREATE plan, which stands for, Creative Economy Advancement and Tourism Expansion Plan. And first, if I haven't met you yet, which I think Representative Gorman, this might be the first time we've chatted. My name is Neil Kirschling. I've been with the Delaware Arts Alliance for about 3 years. I come with a background as both an advocate and a performing artist. Behind me somewhere is my Delaware State Senate name tag from when I was a legislative fellow, actually alongside Senator Lockman many, many years ago in the state Senate. But really thrilled to be in a position now supporting the Delaware Arts Alliance. Many of these organizations are here represented on the call today and have introduced themselves in the chat. We are a nonprofit organization that serves as the unifying voice for the arts by empowering, informing, and mobilizing. And I spelled empowering wrong when I edited these slides today. So notice spelling is not one of the parts of our mission. To really focus on advancing Delaware's vibrant creative economy. And what is the creative economy, you might ask? That was the focus of the plan we're presenting today. At its heart, the creative economy is a dynamic, interconnected network of individuals, businesses, and nonprofits dedicated to producing, sharing, and celebrating cultural, artistic, and heritage-related goods, services, and activities. We know that the arts are important for art's sake, and there is intrinsic value for all of us in having a healthy arts and culture scene. We really set out to define our sector in terms of the benefits for the overall economy, because we know that sometimes matters when telling the story about why we need support. And you'll see here in this pinwheel all of the various subsectors. I think it's important, and we'll send these slides afterwards for folks to go through, but just to quickly give you a sense of what is all encompassed in the creative economy. As I mentioned before, it's individual artists, gig workers, freelancers, small businesses, nonprofits of all sizes and staff sizes, ranging here from museums to film and video producers, book publishers, interior designers, writers, art restorers. We go on to include music publishers, tourism organizations and attractions, music stores, venues of all different sorts, photographers, ceramicists, and then all of the supporting industries like ticket resellers, event production, licensing, arts associations. Really a sort of wide gamut of organizations and individuals represented here. So about 2 years ago, we set out to develop the CREATE plan. The Arts Alliance board and its members understood that we needed to sort of rebound from the COVID pandemic stronger, hopefully, than we were before, with an intentional set of data and policies to support our sector and make sure that we can sustain ourselves. And we knew that there was a lot of great work happening already in Delaware that could be built upon with some really intentional and strategic policy steps. And so, as Senator Lockman mentioned, in producing this report, we are the first state in the nation to do this sort of analysis, where we are looking at state, county, and city level creative economies. I know we have at least one county representative, councilwoman for Newcastle County, on the call. There are action steps in here that you can take in government, outside of government, private sector, all levels here. Obviously, I wanted to talk about the fact that stakeholder engagement was a really important part of our methodology. We spoke to over 600 individuals over the course of 2 years through focus groups, events, and online surveys. We worked with an organization called Sound Diplomacy, which is an internationally acclaimed research firm that's come in to present to the Arts and Culture Caucus at various points during the development of this plan. We released this at the end of last summer, so right after you all left session, and had launch events up and down the state for over 250 individuals. In addition to stakeholder engagement, we did a regulatory assessment as well, where we looked at existing laws and regulations at the state, county, and city levels. We even looked at downtown development plans to develop a really comprehensive SWOT analysis of the state. And so one of the key findings of this report is about the creative economy's impact. I know this is a lot of text, but I'll sort of give you the high level. Delaware's creative economy is essential for Delaware's overall economy. We are a $3.7 billion industry, and we employ 18,551 local jobs, both directly and indirectly. In addition to that, we know that there is a return on investment for the arts. Every single dollar of output generated in the arts, in our economy, generates another 60 cents for other unrelated industries here in the state. We also, in our analysis, looked at salaries and incomes within the arts and found that it is possible to make a living, that our average salary is above the average salary in other sectors in the state. But we know that there is a range of incomes that you can be making in the arts, and there are inequalities in terms of race, gender, geography of who has access and who can make a living working in the creative economy. In addition to an economic impact analysis, we also developed an online interactive asset map. I'd be happy to sit down with any of you and look at your district and see what might be in your backyard that you aren't even aware of or that you are aware of. This is just visual representation of the Dover area. You can sort of scroll in, see what organizations are there, find their contact information. This is not evergreen. Obviously, organizations open and close all the time, but it was a really helpful tool for us to be able to assess the breadth and depth of where our sector is and who we are. So that brings us to our recommendations, which I think is sort of the key thing we wanted to focus on here today that Senator Lockman asked for. We have 25 recommendations. The full report includes case studies to other localities that have done similar work and seen results. Based on our stakeholder engagement, all of these recommendations have specific Delaware considerations across diversity, equity, accessibility, inclusion, as well as geography. That won't be captured here in these slides, but is available online and happy to follow up. So I'd like to do, Senator Lockman, I think, is get through all 25 at a high level. We'll do sort of a big picture, and then we can drill down if we need to in follow-up meetings. But just to give everyone an understanding of the full scope here. The first 4 recommendations really are looking at the overall creative economy development, sort of high-level things that would support the sector. We are recommending, based on this research, establishing a creative economy task force that continues to build cross-sectoral collaboration and engage stakeholders. To establish creative hubs in each county, places that creatives can go to seek networking opportunities, performance and rehearsal, and showcase opportunities for their art, spaces that creatives can go to get professional development, to seek out resources, to share efficiencies across others doing similar work. We heard the need to update special event and performance-related permits and licenses. This is particularly at the county and city level, things like busking and noise ordinances and agent of change really help local festivals and performances happen in your locality. More at the state level, we heard the need to develop a statewide digital one-stop shop for permits and licenses. Not that the state would ever control what localities decide, but an opportunity for folks looking to put on events to go to one place and get all that information. You'll see pictures throughout here from many of the organizations on this call that help submit photos. And so if you see yours, give us a shout out in the chat. The next set of recommendations relate to industry support, and those are sort of very business focused. The first is to include creative economy in statewide business and economic development, communications, and programs. This could look like a number of different things. One, just communicating better about the creative economy to our out-of-state businesses looking to relocate here. It could look like propping up grants and loans and professional development programs that specifically meet the needs of our creatives. It could mean tweaking existing programs and services to be better applicable to the unique needs of artists. Already this week in conversation, I've heard from artists who say if they're gigging, perhaps they've got income coming from 8 different sources last year. They don't just have one W-2 that they get from an employee. And sometimes just that alone makes them not eligible for certain business and economic development programs. We are recommending the creation of a full-time government position to help represent the interests of our creative economy, especially self-employed and small businesses. The development of fair pay guidelines for creatives, as well as modernizing Delaware's film and media production industry. I think these key takeaways on this slide are some of the most impactful in my perspective that we heard, that 70% of the creative economy are small businesses, and an additional 17% are self-employed. We heard consistently that there is inconsistent funding from philanthropic sectors, and that organizations and individuals are both looking for developing their skills related to business and financial management. The next set of recommendations relate to tourism. We know that tourism is a driver in this, or the arts are a driver of tourism in the state. And so therefore, we're recommending the development of a statewide cultural economy brand that benefits not just tourism, but also economic development and audience development. As part of that, we would have to increase cultural tourism offerings. So what are people coming to Delaware to do? How are we telling that story in a cohesive manner? And then lastly, emphasizing our existing arts and culture infrastructure in all of our tourism communications. So we know some of this work is underway. We know from data from the tourism office that more people are coming to Delaware now than they were before the pandemic. However, the reality, perception is reality. And when surveying artists and creatives, we heard from them that they do not perceive tourism as being essential for their income, especially places like Sussex County, where we have so many hotels and tourism infrastructure near arts and culture infrastructure. There are better opportunities to sort of align those two sectors really intentionally and creatively. And positioning Delaware not just as a destination for tourism, but a destination for artists to live themselves. The next two recommendations won't be a surprise to any of our folks on the call, but we heard the need for ongoing funding support for the creative sector, particularly identifying additional revenue streams to support Delaware's creative economy. This body, the Arts and Culture Caucus, was helpful along with the Arts Alliance last year in advocating for an increase to funding to the Division of the Arts, which goes out to the arts community. But we know that there are other opportunities to find creative partnerships in, small business, tourism, education, health and human development, parks and recs. The arts really touch on all of these things. And oftentimes, arts organizations and individuals are excluded from some other funding opportunities. And as funding opportunities are expanded, we intend to do so equitably. The next set of recommendations are the focus of next month's advocacy, as March is March for the Arts in Education, as declared by the Senate and House a few years ago. You'll see here the recommendations include funding, requiring a graduation requirement for the arts, improving career development opportunities, and advocating for more pathways courses and associate's degrees. Delaware has a big opportunity to, I think, tap into this growing interest in apprenticeships and workforce development, and acknowledging that students that leave our K-12 system are going to go on and want to study the arts or get a certificate. And what are the avenues for them to do so? Helping them realize that they can make a living as a creative, and that could look a number of different ways. And so at the end of this call, I'll share some upcoming meetings we're having specifically on arts education, where we can talk through ways this legislature can be helpful in creating deeper connections and funding opportunities here. The next set of recommendations is around professional development. Again, folks in the creative economy are seeking out opportunities to grow themselves and sustain our sector. We heard the need for just sort of ongoing professional development opportunities. We heard about the need for learning specifically about copyright and IP support, and this desire for creative economy internships, that young people are looking for opportunities to understand the sector, are often leaving Delaware to live elsewhere because they find better opportunities in other spaces. And second to last here, infrastructure development, identify and promote spaces for the creative economy and support access to increased public transportation. The first really relates to utilizing, again, unused spaces. Perhaps that's in downtown Wilmington, for instance. How can we, repurpose existing spaces for the arts? And the second relates to getting people there. We can build all the things that we want, but if folks can't access them through public transportation, that was a common theme we heard over and over again. And then lastly, again, it came up in every single focus group and was really touched on in our research, the need for marketing and audience development. There's a few concrete ideas here on the slide in terms of recommendations. We heard a lot that, there's a lot going on in Delaware, and organizations and creatives sometimes struggle to effectively market their work to attract a broader audience, and that audiences don't know where to go for information. So one of the priorities of this body, the caucus, I know, has been promoting Delaware Scene as sort of a one-stop shop for learning about upcoming arts opportunities, whether they be events or jobs. And so we'll continue to support that. And so that's the end of the recommendations. There's a few minutes, I think, for questions or going back to things people want to dive into or things we can tackle in follow-up conversation. I'll close out my portion just by saying there's two upcoming opportunities for us to talk more about this as a sector. One is one of the first in-person caucus meetings that Senator Lockman referenced On Thursday, March 27th, we will be in Legislative Hall, well, technically in the Tatnall Building and Legislative Hall. We hope you will come across the streets to get lunch with us. From 11:30 to 12:30 on the 27th, we will have a panel of educators, students, recent graduates, and employers specifically discussing pathways from K-12 to career and how we can strengthen those opportunities for students. After that, we will be helping members of the community to meet with their legislator if they're interested. We hope that you'll be willing, as members of the caucus, to meet with your constituents, and then hoping to work with our chairs again to promote a resolution through both chambers, and really celebrate the arts in front of the entire General Assembly. So this will be in your email, all attendees, after the call to register and learn more. And we hope we'll see you there. And then lastly, some of you might have participated last year on regular convenings with the Lieutenant Governor. We're very excited that Lieutenant Governor Kyle Evans-Gay, a former member of this Arts and Culture Caucus, has decided to continue bi-monthly creative economy convenings. Our first will be March 13th. Those are open to legislators, though typically it's members of the public who come. You know, as opposed to the caucus meetings, these are really discussion-based, and we let people sort of add in the chat and unmute, and there's time for sort of talking issues through. Our March topic will be the same as the caucus, looking at pathways from career to, or education to career, so that we can get information from all of you in the community and then bring it down to Legislative Hall later in the month. And I think that's it from me, Senator Lockman. So I've left you with 5 minutes if folks have questions or want to dive into anything. And if not, I'm happy to do follow-ups afterwards.
Thank you for that, and really helpful to see those upcoming opportunities, particularly March for the Arts, which I'm absolutely looking forward to. And I think a couple of the folks who we have on the line have probably heard the overview before. I'm not sure if they will have any particular questions. And I know you've given it so many times that you could probably do it in your sleep at this point, Neil. But I appreciate you doing it again, and I'm glad that we have it recorded to share with anyone who hasn't yet to hear it.
I'm
So
going
I
to
know
scan the Q&A too for any questions I might have missed. Gail asked, what percent of the 70% of creative economy small businesses are LLCs versus 501c3? I don't know the answer to that question. I don't think we looked at that level.
Okay.
It's a good question though.
Maybe something
I'm happy to
for
field
us.
any other questions too.
Okay. But we do know that there was a mix. We don't have the exact percentage, but there was a mix.
Yep.
So yes. So if we don't have any legislator questions, happy to entertain any questions from those in the room. Q&A would be the way to do that. There's not, I don't think.
I don't have any questions, but I just want to say I really appreciate you doing this presentation today. It's very helpful, and I'm really excited to work on some of these ideas and come up with some policy support for some of them. So I have a child who is in his second year of college studying studio art also. So definitely the career path thing is something I'm thinking about these days for sure.
I appreciate you sharing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think we all probably know folks who felt that they had to leave the state to pursue, although we also have plenty of wonderful folks here in the state, as evidenced by who's in the room today. But yeah, I think it's been a few years of us just trying to coalesce around some good data and some good direction that we as legislators can draw from. And I think we really have that. So we just can't emphasize it too much, and love elevating that anytime that we can, because I think it would be wonderful for us to be able to take some of the actions indicated.
That's great. I see also there's a few maybe representatives and senators in the audience that we didn't elevate as panelists. And if
Oh, are there still? Sorry
yeah,
about
sorry,
that.
I might not notice
Senator
them as I was
Pinckney is
presenting.
here.
I see Representative
Oh, Representative Ross Levin. Let's put
Ross
her.
Levin.
There we go.
I
Welcome.
know. Yeah.
Let me see if I see anybody else. Thank you for being here.
Senator Pinckney, good to see you.
Representative Ross Levin, did you want to ask a question, or were you just making sure we could see you there?
Hi, I just wanted to briefly say thank you for, thanks again for this presentation. I'm looking forward to working with all of you. And I'm newish, but I welcome any further conversation. And I just want to thank you for all you guys do for the arts community here in Delaware. So I'm a big supporter, and I look forward to helping with any initiatives that are part of this session or beyond. So
Thank you for being here. Anything else? We had some feedback in the Q&A about art therapy as a creative pathway.
And I think we're also joined by Representative Moore and Cook,
Oh,
and
really?
I don't see their names, but I'm getting
Okay.
text that they're on the call. So if you're here, thank you.
Let me see. We are almost at time.
And Representative Sophie Phillips. And last thing I'll say, just as a plug for all of those on the call, the Arts Alliance is again leading an advocacy campaign to ask the Joint Finance Committee to increase state funding through the Division of the Arts. And members were down in JFC testifying last month. We'll make sure to promote that to everyone. The caucus was really helpful last year in helping us secure an increase. As we know, the number of grantees in that pool just grows, which sort of shrinks funding for existing grantees. And inflation just limits what we can do. So we'll be looking at that this year, as well as excited to talk with all of you on March 27th about some policy solutions to support arts education specifically.
Yeah, and maybe as a last note, what someone asked in the Q&A, who are the current official members? Obviously, we will always welcome any member of the General Assembly into our meetings and to become a supporter, but who has formalized their membership in the Arts and Culture Caucus? I'm looking at Day or Neil. Do we have
I
that?
think what Day I'd say is formal is anyone who comes to a meeting and participates as a member. And I think at the end of last session, we were up to 16. Let's 16 to 19. I'm getting the 6 and 9 confused, but we've set a goal, at least at the DAA, of supporting all of you to get to a third of the legislature engaged, and I think we're near that already, and I think that's an exciting,
Yeah, we're getting
33
close.
to 40% of the legislature. So,
So we would
Representative
encourage.
Ross Levin, Representative Gorman, you're now in the fold, like our returning members here.
So
And
it's definitely at least 18.
Yeah.
And for anyone listening in, we would encourage you, of course, to go to our General Assembly website, make sure you know who your rep and your senator are, and just email them, ask them if they're involved with the Arts and Culture Caucus, tell them that if they're not, they should be. The more people we get around the table to hear all this information, the more we can do. And
okay. And with that, we'll give people the rest of their afternoon back for
awesome.
Yeah, one last thing, in our follow-up, we can include the list of caucus members.
Good idea.
Yeah, so thank you.
Great. So you'll have that list. Thank you for the question, and good on University of Delaware for adding more arts majors. We can all clap for that and look forward to being with you all when we march for the arts on March 27th, and particularly lean into the talk about arts education in our schools. I know we have a couple educators I saw on the call, so thank you for what you do and looking forward to talking more about it. Have a good one, everyone.
Thank you.